This is the Get Geekish podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Bino, joined by Derek sitting next to me from far, far away. How you doing tonight, Derek?
Hang in there.
Good. But we do this podcast every week talking about geeky things, and we're going a little bit of a different route this week. It's still a geeky thing, but it's
geeky to you as well, because you're
enamored
into
of it.
This.
Yeah, we're talking about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. You've probably heard buzzwords all over the place because just about every metaverse company, video game company, digital company, cryptocurrency company is all talking about how they're getting involved with NFTs in some form or another, and goes down the whole cryptocurrency wormhole, which I have been enamored with for the last year or two, and I know just enough to get myself in trouble. So if there's anybody tuning in for this podcast is going to come in and correct every little nuance I have wrong with something cryptocurrency wise, just have at it, because I'm not an expert. And I could follow with the trail of everybody else that's on Twitter for cryptocurrency and just say, this is not financial advice.
No, don't come to us for financial advice.
Exactly. But you came to me with this idea for it because you wanted to talk about NFTs in the podcast. So what made you want to bring up NFTs for our Get Geekish fans here?
Okay, so backtrack real quick. So you said NFT stands for
non-fungible token.
When I read it as fungible. So right there, I'm off to a great start. But what
great for keeping the mildew away?
Yeah, right. So what prompted this was actually, so I'm huge in the gaming world, right? I'm all about video games. Articles pop up. I follow different things. So much like you with cryptocurrency, I'm in the video game world. Delve into that, right? NFTs is making it's like starting to thread that line of video games. And I know cryptocurrency has had its like dives in and out with some certain video games and everything like that, with trying to get the different Bitcoins and stuff, and the reason I'm bringing it up and the reason I brought it up to you is because I know that you're into this. This is your type of thing, but NFTs is making a wave in the video game world.
A very polarizing wave. Surprise.
So one of the huge things is Dead by Daylight. It's a multiplayer game where it's survivors versus a monster. And, they've started incorporating monsters from different franchises. And one of them that brought up the whole thing was the Cenobite from Hellraiser. That's now an NFT in Dead by Daylight. And a lot of people are saying, whoa, don't do this. And I read the article and I was so confused because that was my first thing about an NFT, because it's like people are upset that it's an NFT. I'm like, what is an NFT? And so I'm reading this thing. I'm like, I'm lost.
So here's my take on it, because the bits I know about this part of the video game industry, especially video game fans, are very up in arms. Some of them are all for it and some of them are totally against it. And I stand on the fact that NFTs are going to be the future of digital collecting, metaverse, video game, stuff like that. But it's going to have to find that sweet spot of how it's done right. Right now, it's still in its infancy stage. So everybody's just trying things. And if I'm getting this story correctly, when you're talking about, part of the problem in the game is one of these creatures you can play as or play against is an actual NFT that people can just buy, right?
Yeah.
And so people that are playing games are super upset because it makes it not fair. It makes it pay to play, because they could sit there and grind the game for weeks and weeks and months and months and months. But then I could show up and buy the game and spend my $150 NFT and then have a monster that would completely destroy everything they've got going on. So, something like that.
And see, that's where I'm confused, because there's the DLC, which DLC always adds in different monsters. So, I mean, there's a whole bunch of different monsters. If you loaded up the game right now, fresh out of the box, you would have to, fresh out of the box, that's an old term there. But you get it digitally, right? It's going to have different monsters that you can still get DLC for. So it's kind of making waves, because the NFT is a little bit different than DLC. It's just tweaking things a little bit different. And that's why I'm kind of like, thrown for a loop there. And one of the video game channels that I follow on YouTube, they were sitting there talking about, different NFTs, like, gifts are starting to go that route. Somebody bought like the Neon Cat GIF for hundreds and thousands of dollars, and they now own that. And it's kind of interesting to me because I'm looking at it like you have all these gifts and everything that were taken from different types of media. And if people start buying those, they're going to start kind of getting taken away from certain things, right? Because that's their own thing. You're not going to be able to use that GIF anymore unless you pay to use it.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, because that's where a lot of people are going to get hosed, because again, in the near future, this NFT market is going to make a lot of millionaires, and it's going to get a lot of people completely wrecked, because your thought process, oh, this person owns the Nyan Cat. No, they own the digital representation in that NFT. Unless there's a special legal contract written that somebody does outside on there. If I purchase an NFT of somebody's artwork, I don't own their artwork. That artist can still use their artwork to do whatever they want, because they own the copyright of the artwork. The NFT, it's basically the equivalent of a digital serial number, for lack of a better term.
Okay.
Everything that goes that's created an NFT, they can all be super, super unique. So if someone wants to mint an NFT, we'll use the Nyan Cat one. They have a JPEG of the Nyan Cat, and they want to mint that. They mint it on a NFT network, Solarium or Solana or crypto.com or Ethereum or anything like that. They pay to get it minted and create this digital version of it that has specific serial numbers in each one that's on there. And then, okay, I'm going to have this, I'm going to make 10 of them. So 10 of them are going to exist ever. And they sell them, and people then want to be a part of owning that, and they want to have it forever, stuff like that. A lot of the initial arguments I saw with NFTs, people would say, well, why can't you just screenshot it? It's the same thing. Well, it's not quite the same thing, because with blockchain, everything is on a public ledger that everybody can see. So if there's any transactions that happen with it or it's used somewhere, you can see exactly who and where it was used. So it becomes basically a digitized serial number that can be checked by anyone, not just specific holders in it.
So I'm glad that you brought up the blockchain too, because that's a whole nother thing too, that me, again, with cryptocurrency, I've never, I know about it, but I've never really dove into it like you have, with Dogecoin and Bitcoin and, all the other thing. And I know that blockchain is a huge thing of that, and people use it to data mine.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And people have PCs set up to mine for Bitcoin, which just blows my mind how much money people put into it to make money. So with the NFTs, it's kind of like the same thing. Like, I heard a whole, like, just right click save.
Mm-hmm.
And you brought up the point. It's not the same. And it's
it's not quite the same. And a lot of the things with NFTs, because I get into this, and I'm still with you. I'm still trepidatious. Is that the right word I'm looking for here? But like, there's a lot of these things that are going to be absolute garbage. I see some of them, and they're like 8-bit animations from video games that people are selling for millions. There's, if you go Google NFT and teenagers, there's dozens of stories of 12-year-olds and 15-year-olds that have made millions of dollars selling digital artwork as NFTs. And
how does it, like, where does the line get drawn? Because how does copyright get involved with this? Because if people start taking something that's a copyrighted image and they're trying to make an NFT out of it, is that like you said, is that where it's gonna come with the lawsuits and everything like that? Of like,
I think so, because it's like, you say that now, but that's what's been happening. Look at almost every meme that's been created on the internet. They stole somebody else's photo, put some pictures on it, and hey, look what I made. Like, that's what half the internet's based off of. So there's going to be some lawsuits. I mean, there's been a couple places that have been shot down where people are trying to create NFTs out of like Disney characters or pictures from movies and stuff like that. And it's going to be ugly. There's some places that aren't. Like, there's one marketplace called the NBA Top Shot, because the NBA and WNBA decided to jump right on this, and you can go on there and you can buy game clips or digital trading cards or audio clips from famous parts of game history, and they're all serial numbered. So it's the same thing of it's making it scarce. Yes, you can recreate this and copy it and send it to 35,000 people, but only 10 people actually own the official NBA licensed one, blah blah blah. So it becomes that weird gray line of where where is it going to happen? But you look at some of the biggest ones that have sold over the last couple of years. Some of these pictures, like CryptoPunks, are one of the biggest one. They look like character descriptions from an old Nintendo game, and they just make different CryptoPunks as different people. And some of them are selling for $4, $5, $6 million for a JPEG. But it's the want to be a part of it. It's worth this much. Everybody wants one, and so it has value because people want it. If something holds that value, it's going to be worthwhile. If in 5 years people say CryptoPunks are worthless, nobody wants them, there's going to be tons of people that are out millions of dollars because now they own the NFT of a digital piece of artwork that nobody cares about. And with the advent of everybody making them, you mentioned Bitcoin, Dogecoin, stuff like that. Cryptocurrencies, there's hundreds of new cryptocurrencies every week that pop up because anybody can just make a network of a cryptocurrency if they know what they're doing. It's the longevity and having the breadth of a network to get enough things on board to use it and make it a phenomenon. And I think whichever one of these NFT platforms gets signed up with whatever becomes the next big thing. I mean, Facebook is trying big with the metaverse. Microsoft is using the HoloLens. I know there's 4 or 5 other metaverse companies are putting things together. There's other companies, and whichever one becomes the next big thing is going to create the winner. And that to me, I think the other part is that people that are creators of the NFTs can actually work things where they get money off of it. Like, let's say in the near future, video games, the Call of Duty franchise gets in some NFTs where you have these ornamental accessories and stuff that you can buy as NFTs or win as NFTs in tournaments or things like that. Well, they could open it up in the future and say, all right, Derek, you're going to create one of these things. So you create this really super cool spook deer helmet, right? And it gets put on Call of Duty, and then some huge Twitch star decides they love it and make it a big deal, and they buy it and they put it up on the for sale. Well, you're the creator of that NFT. So anytime that NFT is then used and or sold within the game, you have a blockchain trail back to you that would then say, oh, well, this person gets this X amount of cut from the money spent on these things throughout the game.
God, I wish I was artistic then.
Yeah, I mean, and the technicalities to make it all happen are way above where I'm at. I can just see it all and I'm like, oh yeah, that probably sounds super neat, and there's ways to do it. But there's other cases where there's real world cases where there's talking about NFTs could be used for real estate transactions, not just digital real estate like fake stuff in Upland and Decentraland and the Sandbox, but actual properties. Because if you tokenize everything from the contract to the sales prices to all the different parts of home buying process, you could then cut out the 4 or 5 different middle people that are part of the transaction and save thousands of dollars because there's a public ledger that says this, this, and this. So I just have to sign here, transfer to here. Now I have this. We don't need to go get things signed by notaries and taking this to banks and sent back and forth. And it's just a way of making it that the basis of it all comes back down to that blockchain where everything is a public ledger. It's changing the way banking systems work. It's
well, and here's the thing too that's weird to me is I had no idea I thought this was a new thing. It's been around for a few years.
I think it started around 2017 or so.
Yeah, like, that's the whole thing is like Bitcoin, it had been around before it blew up. And that's why I think, some people made a lot of money because they had invested into a lot of things, And to me now, I'm just looking at this going, okay, are NFTs here to stay? Is it going to be too convoluted because it's gonna get miry. It's gonna get right down to the mire in the muck because you're gonna have people who create this image, right? But they're not gonna know how to copyright it. And I have a feeling that they're just going to get screwed over because they created this image, they created this thing, but since they don't have the copyright, they didn't put, a patent, whatever the heck you want to call it. They didn't make it their own. Yeah, sure, there's a blockchain going back to them, but who's to say that that's going to stop some company from coming in and just upturning and going, actually, you may have created this, but
yeah, if there's money to be made, there's going to be some ugly use cases. Like I said, it's whoever figures out how to make this work right is going to have smooth sailing for the next decade or something like that or more. But I look at a lot of things. One of the coolest things of a lot of things with augmented reality. When I started off playing Ingress back in the day, which was the company that's got Pokemon Go together,
Mhm.
And they had that augmented reality. I use air quotes on that because, it's a picture of a Pokemon. But the idea behind that, and that's now going on to the next level. There's a company called Vivi that has the Omi token that they're licensed through like DC and Marvel and the NFL, a bunch of things that they do augmented reality, basically NFTs. But you can create your own little collections that you have of these things and make your own little videos, put them in pictures. There's little software systems used. And I think the next step, a lot of those are going to go in with the metaverse. You'll be able to create your own gallery in a metaverse somewhere and house all of the NFTs that you've collected or purchased or created. And you can set up so people come look through it, or you won't let anybody come look through it unless you bring them in with you or something like that. And it becomes the way to show off all that kind of stuff without having to have the nerd hole in the basement like I have full of toys right now.
So you keep throwing around the term metaverse. To me, like when I hear verse, I just think comic book stuff. Obviously, the metaverse is something a lot different. That's why Facebook's trying to go the meta way. What is the metaverse? Like, dumb it down. Speak to me like I'm a 3-year-old.
What for basic, like the metaverse is like the world Ready Player One created, but again, it's still in its infancy, and there's not any one metaverse. Like people use it now, and you're going to hear politicians they're talking about the metaverse like it's this one specific thing that we open a door and we found the metaverse. All the metaverse is a network. Like, well, you take Facebook, because you mentioned it's a big one with Meta. Facebook itself, if you made that a 3-dimensional augmented reality world, that would be the Facebook metaverse. And the future of some of these is all these different chains and companies will be able to create their metaverses. And will there eventually be one huge metaverse that everything plugs into? That's what places like Cosmos and Chainlink are hoping. No matter what metaverse you're in, you can be able to go back in between. Imagine getting your NFT in the Facebook metaverse and taking it over to the Call of Duty metaverse before you go over to the Hello Kitty metaverse and bring it on there and bring all your stuff along with you. Like the interoperability is there. But the metaverse it's just a world. You take it like you create a Minecraft world. You create your Minecraft world, you build what you want it, put your stuff in there. You can invite your friends to, you can make it public so there are people who come in there. But in the NFT space, in the metaverse, you could also then claim the ownership per se of all those different things, or make it to where people come into your section of the metaverse that you own. Nobody can change anything but you. And I always questioned it because I love virtual reality. But I remember going to the virtual reality headset when I was like 9 years old, driving all the way to Boulder and going to virtual reality for 20 minutes, where you were in like a Tron like block space and you could just walk around and like, oh, there's a tree, cool.
And then you come out of it and your eyes are all cross-eyed and your head hurts.
And I just got an Oculus 2 a little while back, and I come a long way. I tried the Oculus 1 and it gave me a headache and I wanted to throw up, and I never wanted to touch it again. The Oculus 2, taking a few steps forward where everything just gets a little bit better and a little bit better. And the fact that you can go in there now too and interact with objects that you own. You can share things, invite people into it, chat things, watch videos. I think the pandemic opened a lot of people's eyes to it, in the sense that one of the things that I never thought of for something like Oculus is you can create a hangout room. So you live in a tiny little apartment in Queens, all alone, no friends, no family around, you're bored. You log on, put your headset on, invite 7 or 8 of your friends over to your metaverse room so you guys watch a movie. You put the movie up in the corner and you can see the avatars of your 4 friends and then talk and chat, interact like you're hanging out on the couch together watching a movie. It seems weird, but it's kind of fun. You can go to concerts. You can go to, I watched 15 minutes of a UFC fight a couple weeks ago. I don't even like UFC fighting, but I'm like, okay, I'll walk in here and went to the metaverse thing. I'm like, oh, cool. Because it's literally the camera set up on the ring of the octagon. So I'm sitting there watching this fight like I'm this big. I'm holding my fingers up like 2 inches big next to these gargantuan fighters going at it Goliath style, like you're standing 2 feet away from them. And it was that view that if I went to a UFC fight, I would never see anything close to that. But this right there's like, wow, like, that's cool. And you imagine things with concerts. A lot of musicians, I think Aoki's gone into it, and a lot of rap artists have gotten into the NFT space because they can. I think the Kings of Leon, was it? Is their next album's going to be sold as an NFT? Because it doesn't stop people from copying and sharing it, but to have one of the official version releases of it, every time one of those is sold, the band gets royalties from it. They can also include extra things like, oh, you got the version that had this bonus, so you get, here's some extra cover art. Oh, you got this bonus, you get an extra track, you can download this one. Oh, you got this bonus code. Well, guess what? You get to have an online VIP experience with the band. Oh, you got this code. Well, you get free tickets and get to go backstage when they go to New York. Like all these things they can put in without having to go through like the process of raffles and giveaways, because if somebody buys it, then you know exactly who. Oh, that you bought it. This person can have this thing now.
So I mean, and you're saying that this is going to go the route, obviously going, it's already in pop culture and everything like that. What makes this different than DLC? What makes the NFTs different than the DLC of a video game? Like, how, like you said, we can go into COD right now, or we can go into Fortnite, or we can go into PUBG, we can go into Halo, and we can buy different skins as it is. We can buy different avatars. We can make ourselves look different. What is different with the NFT as opposed to just going in and, dropping $10 for a different skin to look like Spider-Man or something like that?
I think, and this is me speculating because again, I don't know enough of the technicals to be super intelligent on this. But the NFT is the fact that we went back to the public blockchain. Right now, you can go into was it Fortnite and buy all your skins or whatever like that, and they could just decide to make 1,000 more skins. Oh, here's another things. Well, the blockchain, everything is a public blockchain, so there can be finite amounts of things. If they do it correctly, there could be a finite number of resources within a ecosystem or within a game or within a thing that, okay, we've got this many helmets. Well, there'll only be, 22,000 of these helmets ever minted, and then they're all done, or something like that. And it creates a little bit of added value for people that really want to be a part of something or collect something, and allows people that are actually collaborating to then get benefits off of their work being used. Because you look at video game companies, how many artists work at video game companies?
Oof, thousands, hundreds of thousands.
And every little bit of the hard work gets completely out the way, right? They get their paycheck and nothing matters. It doesn't matter if the gun they helped design was downloaded 429 million times. Yeah, whatever. You make 35 grand a year. Here's your paycheck. Go home. But you take that and say, what if every time somebody invented a really cool new gun for Apex, that they could actually get some benefit off that being used, whether that be financially, whether that be currency in the game, whether that be notoriety, whether that be anything on there, giving somebody that option. The same thing with people that, I look at the kids that create these Minecraft worlds that are insane. I don't get Minecraft, but people spend lifetimes doing stuff in it that they love and they enjoy. People go and look around. What if you could find a way to capitalize on putting all that hard work and then getting something back for it? You make some amazing world, and then you could, for lack of a better term, sell it or put it on the open market for other people to use, and you get benefit instead of Mojang making hand over fist off of the hard work you've done. They'll make theirs too, but you could also get some kickback from it too. Same thing with music. I've seen a world in the future where real world cases of NFTs music, if they give NFT versions of their songs at different places where it's played at, like say in metaverse spaces, metaverse concerts. Right now, they play ASCAP and BMI license for airplay on the radio, right? Mm-hmm. Which we know is a load of hooey, because those numbers can be fudged and made up and tricked all the time, left and right. But, and the artists get what, like 1,000th of a cent for a spin animation. But what if in the metaverse, during the Super Bowl metaverse party in Metaland, they're playing the new Weekend track, and every single person there, since it's blockchain based, can know what song was there and who was in that room. So like, oh, look, these 395 people were sitting in this room when this song played, so we're going to give you this much money per one of those people that listen to the song, or vice versa. And to be able to actually have that, it's giving everything serial numbers. It's almost Big Brother-ish. So there's a whole nother
I was gonna say that. I think that's
landmine we could jump on, but
I think that's the other thing is there's a lot of people speculating about it because it is more controlling. It is more. I mean, it could come down to straight up elitism. You know, it's the if you have this much money, this is yours. Oh, I'm sorry, you don't have enough, then you don't get to experience the type of thing. And it can start creating the rifts in class and, elitism. And that's why I'm wondering exactly how far this is going to go. Because I mean, they're going to have to put a lot of restrictions on this to make sure that it doesn't get out of control. But then it comes down to the whole thing of like, well, where does the freedom cross? You can't have the FCC control everything when it comes down to NFTs. I mean, it's going to have to create their own little subdivision, and then it's the whole thing is people are upset because they feel like it's getting like some freedoms taken away, kind of like what you said. So
well, see, I think it's going to be, we have years before that's going to be worked out, because none of these things are going to take off and be that mainstream yet.
Yeah.
You're talking about NFTs, and we've been around since 2017. Bitcoin's been around since 2009 or 2011, something like that. So it's been around a little over a decade. And cryptocurrency in the United States, I think the last survey was we're still like 13% of Americans own some form of cryptocurrency. So we're very, very beginning side of this, of what it's going to happen on here. And I think you mentioned the thing of, well, who's going to regulate it? It's not going to get regulated much yet until they find any big problems, because all these networks are small enough. And I hate to say it too, but so many of the great projects that are out right now, NFT, blockchain, whatever, aren't going to exist in 5 years. If you go back in time and look at all of the cryptocurrencies that were available back in 2015, there's a lot less of them, but the ones that were there, how many of them have completely folded or don't exist anymore or were absolutely worthless? And there's going to be complete NFT metaverses that companies dump tens of millions of dollars into. And by 2025 or 2030, like, yeah, pull the plug. It's worthless. No one's going to use this thing anyway.
So what you're saying is this is history repeating itself with the .com era.
To a point, there's going to be some new winners that come across and some big losers for it.
But I mean, we lived through the .com era, right? We've been there. So we remember all those companies that were like jumping on the internet when it was first coming out and everything like that. And I guess you could kind of compare it to the NFT thing is who's going to have that staying power? Who's going to be able to keep themselves going? And like you said, right now is kind of it's not going to get regulated just like the internet was. I mean, everybody just started pumping stuff out. And then when things started coming down and, different companies realized that they couldn't hang and they started getting shut down, that's when you started seeing Google shine more, as well as, Yahoo at the time. So it's like you said, it's going to be interesting. So maybe right now, if you want to get into the NFT game, do it before it gets regulated too much, and then make your money and just
well, it's fascinating. If I advise to anybody, I go in. One of the biggest things they say in crypto is the never throw in money that you can't afford to lose, because the volatility of cryptocurrencies and NFTs is unreal. Like, you're talking some of these crypto punks that were given away for free 3 years ago, then sold for $70,000, now sold for $6.7 million, could very easily be worth less than $1 in 6 months.
Well, and that's the story. The video game people that I follow, they were talking about another story, and I don't remember what the NFT was, but he had it, and right now it's worth like hundreds of thousands of dollars, right, or even millions. And he's like, "No, I'm going to sit on it." He doesn't want to sell it because it could be worth more, or he could wake up tomorrow and it's just pennies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I look at that I do football cards in the 90s. I remember I opened up this gold foiled Rick Meyer collector's edge, 1 out of 350 blah, blah, blah card from a pack at a sports card shop when I was like 12 years old. And the Beckett value at the time was like $525. I'm going to retire with these things. Well, if you don't know anything about football and Rick Meyer, he was a wash-up Seattle Seahawks quarterback that turned out to be completely nothing. So that card that I had in my possession that was at one time worth $500, I couldn't get 2 quarters for it if I took it to a card shop and tried to sell it right now, even though that card's now 22 years old.
It's funny because I didn't even realize that, like, NFTs, we've been dealing with NFTs since we were little. We got baseball cards, football cards, action figures. We're dealing with them now with Funkos.
Funko's jumping on the NFT bandwagon too. Funko and 2 or 3 other companies are working with a company called Wax on some sort of NFT collaboration, which I get so many. I'm confused, but I think that was correct. They're trying to figure out a way that they can tie real world assets to the NFT tokens, which I think that might be the future of how you combat some of this other thing, when it's not just this made up picture that I made that's worth $10 million. It's this made up picture because it's tied to this real picture artwork or something like that. And I mean, I think the Broncos gave NFT tickets to the last home game they had for the football stadium. And that's one of the things that music venues and sports arenas looking at the future, because if you have an NFT ticket for an event, then they can't have fraud. It eliminates a lot of the scalping and things like that, because people have to go through all the verification processes to buy these things. And whoever made the original NFT can see everywhere it's sold. So if you see somebody that buys 400 of your NFT serialized tickets to the game and then tries to resell them, you can be like, oh, no, you've just been revoked. You lose all your tickets and blah, blah. I mean, it just makes it, like you said, with the control, it makes things like that easier to do. So they're experimenting with those things. Albums coming out with NFT versions of it. Like I said, the real estate market's trying with them. Cars are trying with them. And it's just fun. You go read about it, and it's daunting at first because there's a lot of techno jargon that sounds like absolute gibberish.
Yeah, you read an article and it's throwing out, all these different terms, and I'm like, what?
Like, I don't know if I learned something or if I feel really stupid now, but I know what that term is. And I mean, I get myself turned around backwards on all the times too, between all the different networks and the different blockchains. And is it proof of stake? Is it proof of work? The carbon emissions of different chains versus this chain's the chain interoperability, like all these different things that go onto it. And then it boils back down to it. You look at the lowest common denominator of the average Joe, and they skim the article like, some moron paid $4 million for a picture. This is stupid. And then they move on with their life. But once that use case is defined and becomes mainstream, it's going to be a good day.
it's going to be interesting to see how this, how it not portrays, but like evolves. There we go. Because I mean, like I said, we've lived through different quote unquote NFT eras with football cards, baseball cards, comic books, Beanie Babies, different things like that. And some of them have stayed. You look at the Pokemon cards, there's some rare ones that sell for millions and millions of dollars because they did do that whole, there's only a certain amount that we printed, and if you get it, but that was always blind luck. So,
well, they can be luck too, because you pay for them and then you get a certain version. Like they'll have auctions for all these things they put up for sale. Like, we got this collection, we've got 30,000 of these, and 500 of them are this version, 200 of them are this version, 100 are this version, one of them is this limited one, and then the rest are all the same. And they can do that kind of luck of the draw for one. I think I have 4 NFTs, but I haven't paid for any because I still can't bring myself to pay for most of them. And they're just silly. I think Terra Virtua, I've got things where there's like a little, that's going to load on here, a little soccer team logo from some team I've never heard of. Terra Borg Android thing. I've got a Cardano logo, and then I've got another I think crypto.com NFT that I won for showing up at one of the events, something like that. And it makes a great giveaway for companies because they don't necessarily have to pay a lot for it, but they can make people feel really excited about getting something for free.
Right. And it might blow up. You never know. Like, oh, you went to CryptoCon 2022 and you got that. That's pretty cool. And,
yeah, you buy something from an artist that becomes a huge deal. You buy something from some kid on Twitch, and that kid ends up being like some huge 35 million subscriber YouTube sensation the next year. Then all of a sudden you're sitting on something that, oh wow, well, lots of people want this now.
Right.
So it's everyone getting to it. I would not say NFTs are necessarily the investment place to go right now, but they're kind of like a lottery ticket that are a lot of fun. If you know a lot more about it, maybe it's more of an investment. But when you're the average user going, oh, I like these because they're neat, there's no technical analysis. You're literally just guessing and hoping a lot of other people like the same thing you like. So enjoy it.
Well, hopefully you learned something. I know I learned a little bit.
Yeah, if you ever want to talk nerdy crypto with you, we went probably longer than we need to on this because I don't know if you could tell, but it's
a passion.
The passion of the crypto.
coming this summer.
Yeah, so like we mentioned, you can get geekish about just about anything, including things like NFTs and cryptocurrency. So, dip our wick in just about anything we can.
That sounds wrong. Anyway.
Just roll with it. Just carry on.
All right.
All right. Before we go, what cryptocurrencies have you actually heard of before? You mentioned Bitcoin and Dogecoin. What else have you heard of?
Honestly, those are the only ones that I can remember, just because I don't really pay attention. I know there is a crap ton out there, and there's video game based ones, there's music based ones, and everything like that. But those are the only two that I can remember because I don't pay attention to it. I know that there's you have a Corgi coin, or what is it?
Well, I just made my crypto profile for thing is just crypto
okay.
Corgi. I didn't actually make it a currency.
I thought you actually made a currency.
No, there's a whole bunch of meme coins that people just make up, because from Dogecoin, then there was Shiba Inu, and there's Floki, and then there's Dogelon Mars, and all like hundreds and hundreds of knockoffs, because people can find a way to get rich quick. If they find a way to get a bunch of other people to buy their coin, then they sell it, they make a lot of money. But I mean, that's where I realized, because you are hip with it in the video game world, and you can name two digital currencies. I have a portfolio where I probably own 30 or 40 different kinds of it, and could probably recite 50 or 60 of them that I know a little something about. And I still am, 20 to 30% knowledge every day. So what the heck's that? I've never heard of this before. What's this?
It's a whole different animal, that world.
Yeah. And you can find it everywhere. But there you go. What are you into the NFTs? Do you have any NFTs? What NFTs do you have? Can you share them? Show it to us.
Should we make some geekish NFTs?
I've been toying with that idea. I just don't know. Now that some places can pay to mint, because when everything was Ethereum based, minting something cost an arm and a leg. But now there's some of the other blockchains with Polygon and Solana that you can mint for pennies. So maybe we should mint some NFTs of some kind just for kicks and see how it goes.
I do like peppermint.
Let us know at Geekish. I want to know if you have any NFTs, if you even know what they are, and can you show them to us? Because I want to see what you have. What we should, I'm a nerd. What can I say? But it's been fun as always, and we'll do another one of these podcasts. What do you say? Next week again?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Well, we'll see you then. Hey, thanks for listening. We truly appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the podcast. Find us on social media at Get Geekish, and if you want more podcasts, we got plenty of them.